Hey guys, welcome back to our second week of studying fossils. We are going to jump right back into the text we read last week, but we're going to do some different things with the text. Today, we're going to pay really close attention to a character's response in the text, Stone Girl, Bone Girl. So last week we read the whole book and then we studied the first 4 pages closely. And you learned that Mary Anning was an extraordinary girl. So today we're going to focus on how specifically did Mary Anning respond to challenges in her life. And throughout this whole unit, we're going to take time to think about how characters are responding to events. So to do that, we need to pay attention to some of the problems that she experiences and then how she reacts to those problems. I want to take a close look first at page 5 of the book. This is page 5. When they came to the place called Black Ven, Pepper reached into his pocket and to Mary's surprise took out his best steel hammer. He knelt beside a large rock of dried clay and began carefully tapping away. "What are you looking for?" asked Mary, dancing about on the sand. "Just be patient," laughed Pepper. He worked as carefully as if he were making a fine piece of furniture. Mary bent closer. There was something hidden there, right inside the rock. At last, Pepper pulled it free and handed the thing to Mary. It's treasure," she gasped. "It's what we call a little snake stone," smiled Pepper. "Just a curiosity. A present for you, Mary girl." It was the most beautiful thing Mary had ever seen. Back in the workshop, Pepper polished the snake stone and hung it on a string for Mary, like a perfect necklace. How did Pepper respond to Mary's dancing on the beach? And what did Pepper do when he saw his daughter dancing? Yeah, he told her to be patient, and then he laughed. Let's take a look at the next page. That night, Mary couldn't sleep. Her head swirled with thoughts like the twisting golden stone. "The cliffs are full of treasure," she whispered over and over again. Mary's facing a little challenge right now. She's found something she really wants, and she can't get to sleep because she's thinking about it so much. Let's read to see how Mary responds, what she does after this challenge. From that day on, Mary spent every spare moment searching for the curiosities. She had sharp eyes and found them everywhere, in every shape and size. Tiny shiny ones, marble ones as big as millstones, others straight as stone fingers or delicate like plants. Pepper taught her their strange magical names: thunderbolts, fairies' hearts, crocodile's teeth, devil's toenails. He let Mary have her own special drawer in the workshop for her collection. But the other children laughed and teased when they saw Mary hunting near the cliffs. Someone made up a rhyme: "Stone girl, bone girl, out on your own, girl," until Mary ran crying to Pepper. What did Mary do when she was faced with the challenge of really wanting to find more fossils? And how did she respond to this challenge? Well, she spent every moment looking for curiosities, and she developed a sharp eye. She learned about their names, and she kept them in a drawer. Those are all the ways she was responding. Okay, I have one more page here to read to you. That winter was the wettest and stormiest the town had known. Great waves smashed the little houses, and the cliffs became softer and more dangerous still. So Mary stayed away. The cold, damp air made Pepper feel ill. He looked old and tired, and sometimes he coughed so loudly that Mary felt afraid. Hmm. Okay, what I want to do now is I want to jump back to something we've been practicing since last week, and that is answering selected response questions or multiple choice questions. So I'm going to give you a question, and we'll see how well you're doing using these strategies. Remember, there's a lot of strategies to answering selected response questions. You want to read the question carefully, and then you want to try a strategy. Remember, one strategy is you just cover up the answers. You only look at the question and you try to answer it without looking at the choices. And then that way, when you uncover the choices, you see if one of the ones you thought were it is there. And then that's how you know you got it right. Another choice is to read through each answer choice carefully and keep thinking, is that what happened in the text? Certainly, if you hear a ridiculous choice or something that you know is incorrect, cross that out, mark it out. It can't be that. Use details from the text to choose your best answer, and then you want to circle the whole answer. Make sure everybody knows what you chose. Now, today I don't have a Google form for you to do this on, so I'm just going to let you do it right now. Okay. How did Mary feel about the curiosity? So if you're covering it up, think, and now look at your choices. If you're going to read all of your choices before you decide, did she feel confused? Did she feel excited? Did she feel mad? Which one is it? All right, so you've got your choice made. Let's move on. Oh, there it is. What? Look at this. This is our first curiosity. I'm going to start collecting curiosities for our classes. And this is our first curiosity that I wanted you to take a close look at. It's a fossil. What is that? Look closely at it. What could it be? What do you notice? Does it look like a face or a skull? Pay attention to the colors, the shape, the size. It looks really big on my screen, but then I see this here that says 1 centimeter. And if that's 1 centimeter, and I know my pinky is 1 centimeter across. Oh, there we go. So that's 1 centimeter. It looks like this thing might be about 2 centimeters across. So it's actually the size across as 2 pinkies put together. That's not very big. That's pretty small. So if it's a skull, it's a pretty small skull. Well, this is the jaw and skull of a pocket mouse that lived 23 million years ago. It's very similar to the type of pocket mouse living today. Paleontologists can tell that the mouse's ears used to be very big. Thought that was pretty cool. We're going to keep collecting curiosities, just like Mary Anning did. Okay, the second part of our learning target today, let me jump back. Excuse me, says, I can retell the beginning using important details about events and characters. So that's the next thing we're going to work on. So when you retell, you tell a story again, but you want to use just the important details about the characters and the events. Sometimes retelling helps us remember what happened in the text, and sometimes it makes other people want to read our book. So good retelling, though, takes practice and perseverance because it can be tricky. Some retellings can be too long. Okay, let me give you some examples, and I'm going to let you all decide what you think of my retelling. So remember, I'm just telling the most important details about the characters and events. So I've got my book here, Stone Girl, Bone Girl. And I'm going to show you page 1, and then I'm going to do a retelling, and you tell me what you think, okay? So here's page 1. Remember this page? Okay, so let me tell you what happened on that page, okay? Here's my retelling. First, there was a little girl, and she was such a cute little baby, and she was being held by her nurses, and there were 3 nurses, and they sang her songs, like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and they were taking her for a nice long walk in the town, and some of the nurses were singing high, and some of them were singing low, and they probably didn't hear the thunderstorm. What do you think? Yeah, that's too much. That's way too much. That's not a good retelling because I included a lot of details, but they weren't really that important. It was too many unimportant details. So let me try again. I told you this takes practice. Let me try again. So Mary Anning was a baby and she had a dad and a mom and she lived by the water. What do you think? Gosh, that's really too short, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of went the other way with that one. So retellings can be too short because I didn't include enough details. The first time I included not important details, things like that she was cute and what song they sang and how they were singing it. And those weren't important. But then the next time, I think it was too short. So I didn't include the important details about characters and events. So a good retelling tells the most important parts of the story. So what you're going to do today is you are going to get to practice your retelling of the beginning of the story using what's called a beginning, middle, and end graphic organizer. So BME stands for beginning, middle, and end. And today you're only going to fill out the beginning part of the graphic organizer. So I'm going to show you what all 3 parts look like, but today you're just doing the beginning. So here's the beginning. In the beginning, remember, in a story, you're going to meet the characters and you're going to learn about the setting and you're going to kind of hear about what might happen. That's where the beginning is in a story. In the middle, that's where the important events happen. The characters might change and there might be a problem there. And then in the end, the action stops, the problems get solved, and the story finishes. So let's go back and look at what we're going to consider to be the beginning of this story. Remember, we've got the part about that Mary Anning was the baby. We've got this page here. We've got the page here where there was the water crashing at the sea, remember, and things were washing away. And then we've got the pages we looked at today where she finds the curiosities, but then she can't sleep. And then we've got the parts here where the kids are teasing her and Pepper's starting to get sick. So we want to focus on those pages as the beginning of our story. So what I want you to do before you write down the beginning on this organizer, I want you to tell it. I want you to tell it out loud. Do like I did and try to tell the beginning. And maybe you find somebody at home that wants to hear a story or call somebody and tell them and say, let me tell you about this story my class is reading called Stone Girl, Bone Girl. And I'm going to retell the beginning to you. Because sometimes after you tell it, it makes it a lot easier to write it down. So today you're just going to, after you've told it, you're just going to fill in what happened in the beginning. And this right here is going to be linked in your assignment, but you have a couple choices. It's really just lines on paper. So you can just write it on your own paper and take a picture of it and turn it in. If you really want to print this, you can print it and write on the lines. and turn it in. So those are a couple of options for writing it out, but I want you to practice telling it first before you write it. All right? All right, guys, you did a great job today. I'll see you back next time.